So I realized, and then once we're all in that circle and we're in the rhythm together, and everybody's doing their own rhythm, but we're still in it together, just like our fingerprint is different. No one has your fingerprint. Your rhythm is that way too, if you choose to find it. And once we're in that place, we become one. And in every song, there is a one. That's why all musicians count in. They go 1, 2, 3, 4. So all of us come in together, the whole band. And then we come in on the one. So if I go, the one is 1, 1. That's the one. And then we become one. And then you become one with the one. And that's whoever your one is that you connect with. And it's quite private. It's not really anybody's business. It's yours. And I realized, wow, the pocket is spirit without religion. It's not governed. And it's proved. It's proved. So I'm not just speaking from what I've heard or read, but it's proof. And once I have everybody in that place, it's jubilation, it's celebration. You forget everything.
Hi, my name is Zenka Caro. I'm founder of LightNet, and my passion and purpose is to make the impossible possible. I am here today with Sabina Sandoval. She is the founder of the Free to Be Me Drum Circle. And I can tell you that this interview moved me like no other. I just felt the poignancy of everything that she had to say, and it just landed. All these scientific principles we talk about, like quantum physics and flow states, she seemed to explain in a way that just landed in my heart and made very clear, perfect sense. It's lived experience, and it's lived experience through music. Her nonprofit is really changing the world, and I'm so excited for you to watch this episode.
I was a foster child, and I had a brother, foster brother, and I think I was 6 or 7, and he played a lot of Rolling Stones, Creedence Clearwater Revival music, and I had a cute little pink vacuum cleaner, and I would act like I was playing the guitar, and I knew I loved music because I wanted to hear it over and over. And then after 3.5 years of being in the foster care with 2 of my sisters, my mother who's a Mayan woman from Honduras. There's 6 of us. She was able to get us all out. And she had to have this amazing home for us so that the system knew that we were being taken care of and nurtured once again. When I was told I was going back to my mother, I didn't even say goodbye to my foster mother, which her name was Ruth. I just ran to the car, and she came and said, "Sabina, you didn't even say goodbye." And then I apologized, and I was just so happy to go see my mother. And then when we got to the home, right in the living room there was a drum set, and she was dating a drummer, percussionist. He was also a horse jockey for the Inglewood racetrack in California, and an artist, all in one. So I saw that drum kit, and I could still see it in my mind. And you can kind of watch how the universe dances with you when you have a purpose. And that was the proof. And he never really showed me anything, but he let me play his kit. And it was in a shed with you could see the light come in, old shed and the spider webs, and I didn't mind about that. And then I would just play, just keep playing, and listen to other drummers, watch other drummers, because we didn't have money to have lessons back then. And then once my mother and he completed their mission together, he owed her money, and so she said, why don't you leave one of your drum sets for my daughter and we'll call it even. So now I have the tool, and that's all it took, was to have that tool and my mother to notice that I really loved it. Even out of 6 children or whatever she was going through, she nurtured that. And next thing, I was just on that trap set for over 35 years, and I found my first all-female band in Los Angeles at the age of 16, and we became an opener for the Troubadour in Beverly Hills, right off of Doheny and I think it's Santa Monica Boulevard. And I have a photo of us, and all of us girls. I was the youngest girl, 16, as they were in their 20s. And my bass player, super beautiful. And so she was dating the gentleman that owned that space, and we became the opener for the Troubadour. So from Pat Benatar to Hart, Fleetwood Mac, Annie Lennox, the Babies, Michael Corby and the Babies, and then Ronnie Montrose with Sammy Hagar back in the day, where rock and roll was pure. And then it just started from there, and it just snowballed, and I just continued to play. And then at the age of 39, I was badly hurt in a domestic violence shelter where I volunteered for the women and children. I was a residential care manager, and I would stay there with the women and children because they were shelters and there had to be someone there overlooking and helping. And I was hurt pretty bad, and in the shelter due to a perpetrator coming in for one of the women, possibly followed her to the shelter, because they're all, considered where no one knows where they are, And so he had to followed her. But that injury was my neck and my back, so it laid me down completely. And the doctors weren't the best either. They kind of hurt me as well. And I found a couple good ones, but the key was just to do nothing and to surrender and to heal from that. But now that I'm 64, I realized it was the universe reinventing me. So I was no longer able to play my trap set, so I put that in storage. And then after a year of that, not being able to play, I was a Venice Beach entertainer for a good 4.5 years, and I would have a 15-piece drum kit out on the boardwalk, playing to people all over the world, and it was amazing. And then that injury, I probably had reached my peak at that time. A homeless man told me this while I was not able to do what I used to do, so I just walked to a community center where children were at rest there, and I would find a way to volunteer to create, value in my life and to let time go by, because I had to heal. That special man, his name was Ken, he goes, "You're not going to be able to play that anymore." And I didn't want to hear it. And he said, "You're going to be playing with people. You're going to be playing with the people now." And I didn't even know what to think from that. I did not want to hear I wasn't going to be able to bring my drum set out again. And I was in a lot of denial. So sometime I didn't even want to hear what he had to say, but literally he was correct years later. And so I didn't have my drum set, so I decided to put this in front of me and turn it into my drum set and just kind of, and then just kind of finagle it. I'd never played with my hands before, and so I just learned how to finesse the skin. And then it was literally the earth reinventing me for Free to Be Me drum circle. And you can kind of watch how the universe has you and will dance with you and reinvent you and even put you down for 2 years, physically or mentally or emotionally, whatever, and it will reinvent you and it will pursue you. And I know this from proof that it pursued me like I was its only child to create this program, Free to Be Me Drum Circle. And that's when I knew, when I walked into that place where I could walk, which was Hermosa Beach, California. It was Teens at Risk. And I walked in there and I saw the teens and I thought, wow, it'd be really cool to get these kids drums. And then the woman, the director, said, well, we have a 501c3. We can write Guitar Center, see if they can bring in drums for the teens. And the next thing we knew, we had 12 drums on a UPS truck for those kids that were at risk. And that's when I went, oh, okay, so we can, it just kept developing and evolving. And then I just figured out, okay, this is what the universe wants me to do now. I never thought I'd be a facilitator or educator. And so once that happened and I started getting my range of motion back, and, you know, it took some years, I had accumulated enough drums. I had one woman at Venice Beach say, can you get me some children? And I run a program called Children's Day in Long Beach, California, and we do a program called Kaleidoscope, and you can bring the kids. And I'm like, wow, okay, this sounds great. Where am I going to get the children? So one of my best friend's sister was a school teacher at Lenox, which is near LAX, and I asked her, can I borrow your children to create a culminating day with them with drums? And she said, absolutely. And I went in there and we started drumming together. And then I asked, could I use the auditorium to get them up on stage so they're used to being on stage? And she said, absolutely, because we're getting ready for Kaleidoscope in Long Beach, which is once a year celebration. And then the director of the after school enrichment program walked in and he saw it and he asked me, would I consider having an after-school enrichment program with this? And I said, sure. So it just kept evolving, and then I just started working with special needs, which was all in that community center where I would go, and that young man that was homeless told me that I was done playing the trap set. He would be there, and then it was an old school in Hermosa Beach that they turned into a community center. And so Project Touch, Teens at Risk, Easter Seals there, and then ARC, Special Needs. And they're both separate from each other, but in the same community center. And then I thought, hey, would you guys like to have a drumming event with your clients, your community? And they said yes. I offered it free. And then I got ARC involved too, and they had told me some years later, because we did it for probably about 9 years, that it was the only program that brought those two groups together, even though they were a door away. And we would do it on the grass at the community center. And then after that, someone called me and said, "Can you do a wedding?" And I'm like, sure, because everything was philanthropy, and I lived off of the money of which was the after-school enrichment. So I could give myself as long as I had an income, and it was a perfect balance. And then it became a wedding, a bar mitzvah, a marathon for the Rock and Roll Marathon in San Diego, the 10K for Manhattan Beach. So, and yeah, it just kept going, and then it became a birthday party, and then, so that funded the philanthropy. And I didn't have to have a 501c3. I didn't want to, it was so much, craziness with that. And to each his own who do, dive into that and make it rock. But I was able, whatever private gigs I did, was able to fund. And as long as I have the drums and my health and the volunteers who are called the Tribe of Angels, I can go anywhere. And then I realized I come from a band, and that I could create a band of drummers around the circle. Those are the heavy hitters that come in and they hold the pocket for all the people that have never touched a drum, who's never even owned a drum or don't think they can drum, and then vice versa. So so the drum set would be Matt Olofsson, Steve Wilson. The dudums is the bass guitar made out of drums. The lead guitar is the congas and the bongos. And then the djembe and the timbales is the lead singer. So we just created a band of drummers and go into these facilities. Once they kicked it in, I could go with the people and grab my cowbell and conduct rhythmic games with the people, while my heavy hitters that are around are holding down a rhythm. And then it's endless, because rhythm is arithmetic. It's drumming music, rhythm with a tick, arithmetic. So the numbers are endless. The methods, whatever you conjure up, whatever patterns, it's just endless. So, and then I went into a prison, Northco, which is Corona, California, is all men, and it was second level, pretty powerful. Took some time to get us all in there, because they have to count everything. Even us, they have to, frisk us, make sure we're not, even the smallest stick or anything. And that took some time the first day. And then after they got to know me, it was faster. But once I went into the prison, it was 60 inmates. And all cultures, from Black, Asian to Caucasian to Hispanic. And everybody had a drum. Everyone. And not little drums, big drums that, that would, that would respond. And because that matters. And once I was in the prison, I went, oh my God, I'm in a prison and we're all rocking out. This is amazing. Even the guards were rocking out. They just had to have their hand on the gun a little bit, right? But all the inmates became who they truly were. And that's when I knew I had a way to help. And that became my whole life, when I saw them transform into who they really are. And I also learned about One Love in that prison, because you hear about it, people talk about it, sing about it, but you don't see it as much. I see it more today, though. And I had 10 inmates help me load up, plus the volunteers, on good behavior. And I had one inmate grab my hand and do something not cool. And I called him on it. I said, hey, why'd you do that? And all the other inmates were right there. We were all outside together loading up. And it was a sexual thing that he did with my hand, and I pulled it back and I go, hey. He goes, oh, my bad. I go, no, you knew what you were going to do when you grabbed my hand. And I go, who's to say if I'll play with you again? That's total disrespect. And I turned around and I saw 9 inmates with their heads down like this out of shame and embarrassment of what just happened to me through him. And I went, whoa, that's one love right there. They're all affected. We were all affected by this one energy. And then I just said, no worries, guys. I'll be back. I'll be back to play with you. I don't know about this cat, but I will with you. And then that's when I realized I had a way to help. And if I, again, have all the drums, I have 200 drums now, handmade, rawhide, djembes from Africa, Indonesia, xylophones, everything, steel pan drums from Trinidad, the bongos, the congas, And I learned that instead of just being a stick drummer, once I became a hand drummer, I could play anything. It's just these are your sticks now. And then I never thought that spirit was going to let me pull the drum set out again. So once I left California and came here, I had given my drum set away, thinking I was just going to focus on Free to Be Me here. But the guy came back with the drum set and said, Sabina, I can't have this. My wife, won't let me have it. It's too loud. It was like 3 days before I was leaving. So we packed it up. And next thing I knew, I was playing with bands here again and solo artists and it was amazing. I just never thought I would be playing the trap set again in well-respected bands. So I'm now able to do both, and because I play with my hands and my sticks, I'm called upon more. Because most drummers are either one, But it made me more of a, that injury made me more of a drummer. So I wasn't hindered by it. Just for a couple years, but it was to prepare me. And that's why I think the universe will always dance with us as long as our intent is pure and that we're following our pocket. And pocket is a rule to the rhythm, which is from the jazz cats. They go, hey, baby, are you in the pocket? And it's an old jazz term where you're in the seam, in the pocket. Now here's out of the pocket. Now in. And then during the after school program, something told me that pocket is life. And I started putting it together with the children. And I'd put two children opposite of each other. One was bully and the other one was spirit. And we'd make it a game. The spirited kid hold his rhythm. And the bully would do everything to knock him off. The spirited kid had to go in to Lala to keep his pocket. Now I would cue the child that played the bully, role played, that he can't touch the child opposite of him, but he can try and knock him off. He can say what he wants. He can be funny. He could, say, wow, you stink. Wow, you think I'm way better than you. And the child has to lock into his confidence and keep that pocket while this other kid is doing everything to knock him off. And then I cue the bully to stop, and the child is still in its rhythm. and he just won his own game. He competed with himself and he won him, you know what I mean? And it wasn't even about competing or winning, but just the fact of being confident and knowing that this other child's going to try and stop you, or this other adult's going to try and say something to you, and it's an everyday quest. Like if someone throws you off and you're driving and they cut you off on the freeway and you go chase them, you just lost your pocket. So it's an everyday quest. And if your heart is beating too fast, you have high blood pressure and your body's out of sync, out of pocket. So maybe cut down on the coffee and the sugar. And so everything is pocket, even the cylinders in your vehicle. I was a GM tech during the Desert Storm time, and honing in those Humvees, all those cylinders had to be in correctly, you know. So, and just like talking to you and you listening, that's pocket. So I realized, and then once we're all in that circle and we're in the rhythm together, and everybody's doing their own rhythm, but we're still in it together, just like our fingerprint is different. No one has your fingerprint. Your rhythm is that way too, if you choose to find it. And once we're in that place, we become one. And in every song, there is a one. That's why all musicians count in. They go 1, 2, 3, 4. So all of us come in together, the whole band. And then we come in on the one. So if I go, the one is 1, 1. That's the one. And then we become one. And then you become one with the one. And that's whoever your one is that you connect with. And it's quite private. It's not really anybody's business. It's yours. And I realized, wow, the pocket is spirit without religion. It's not governed. And it's proved. It's proved. So I'm not just speaking from what I've heard or read, but it's proof. And once I have everybody in that place, it's jubilation, it's celebration. You forget everything. You're not thinking anymore. You're not in fear, you're not in doubt, and you're not judging yourself and others, because you can't. You'll lose the pocket. It's like the jump rope. The kids go in knowing they are the pocket and the jump rope is the rhythm, and the first thing they do before they jump in is they get out of their mind, and you can see it on their face getting in. And the children know. They're spectacular. And that program was called Free to Be Me Cool Kid Drummers. And they're now in their late 20s. And every now and then I get a call of them reflecting, because you saw the Coliseum photo, right? I try to take them everywhere out of their environment, so they knew there was much more than what they had around them, you know, especially the kids in the projects, and that were dodging bullets. So there you go. So what I've seen and noticed, what an individual feels once they've drummed the first time, is they're excited. You see the child in them, like, oh my God, I'm gonna drum, And then I create it to where it's a game, teach them the pocket through clapping. And then this is so simple, you guys. It's not complex. You already know what this is. You heard the heartbeat for 9 months in your mother's womb. And now you long to hear it again. And I'm going to use the drum to help you connect with that. And so at first you get a self-consciousness and concern because they haven't left their mind yet. And then once they're in, it's jubilation. And even if they're just hitting the one and, you know, not making it complex with tons of, you know, hits or strikes, they just become out of their minds, out of their fear, their doubt, whatever stops them, inhibits them, because you're also cutting through what society has taught them to be self-conscious and worry about what people think of them. It's an epidemic. And if we do that to our brothers, if humanity is taught like that, then they can't blossom because they're concerned on how they look and what others are thinking. And if you get them out of there, they become their true selves, freedom. And that's what happened in the prison. There was no segregation, there was no discrimination, there was no conflict. They just became the rhythm. And even in the convalescent hospitals, you know, because you're getting them involved, it's crowd participation. So they're not just watching you, they're getting involved. And you'll spark something, especially seniors that have memory loss. They'll start remembering, and things come up from them, and maybe even tears of joy, and get up and dance all of a sudden. And then you say, wow, I've never seen them act like that before. And the kids of special needs, they know, because they're geniuses, they know when the rhythm's off. The rhythm's perfect. It is. Like the way your hair grows, or a tree, or a baby's being born. The rhythm is perfect. But when I had that gym in Redondo, Re-Rock the Spectrum, and I had a big room like this, and the kids would come in, and they'd have a birthday party, and all the parents are in there getting ready. Oh, we're going to drum, you know. And I go, all right, you guys, no, we got to be in sync, okay? Because if we're not, all these kids are going to run out like this because they know when the rhythm's off. And they're like, I don't know how to. Don't worry, I got you. That's where I come in, and I have you. And then they get in, and it's life-changing. It's breathtaking. It's beautiful. And when you find someone that's so out of pocket, and you try, no, because they're disrupting the whole circle. It's like someone talking loud. You can hear when one person's out of the sync of everyone else. And I had this one gentleman, he was trying to do my fills, my rolls, and drum like me. So I stopped being, you know, too filly. You know, I just became simple so he wouldn't do that naturally. He naturally wanted to do my rolls and my fills. And so I just pulled back, and then I'd put my hand on the drum. No. And the other people were laughing. They were kids. The kids came out of that. So, but I couldn't leave them out of pocket because I had a message saying, if I leave these people out of pocket because I'm so self-conscious to tell them that they're out of pocket, I don't love them. I'm leaving them in chaos, out of rhythm, like watching someone double dribble on the basketball court. Yeah, you're doing great, man. And they're not. So that's where I go, okay, I can't leave this gentleman out. And finally I just go, no, look at me. And I got him in. And he finally got in. This just happened about a year ago here in Sedona at a retreat. And when he got in, I just went, that's it, you're in. And he locked in, and he didn't come out, and you could feel him just blossom and just take it, and all the people were supportive and like, yes, it just became a community endeavor where we celebrated each other in that, and then the rest is dancing and creating. Once you have the pocket, the rest is just creation. The biggest struggle I had in my endeavor to accomplish my mission here was, and I'll be honest, I didn't even know I had one until the injury. And instead of looking cool as a rock star on stage, I was meant to be, to help others through my gifts, not be rich and famous. That's farce. It's not real. Not chase that. Because I saw that limelight for a little bit, and it wasn't all glamorous and great. What was great and wonderful was going into the prisons and the terminally ill or teens at risk that are cutters, cut themselves, and and they could feel me too. They knew that I was a child that was brought up hard as well. We locked in. The minute, you could have all the psychiatrists in there from schooling of 6 years from a book or whatever, but the moment I walked in from hands-on training, from some suffering and, chaos in my growing up and living, the kids can feel you. The moment I walked in with drums, they connected right away. So I knew it was on purpose and it was meant to be. Because you can see how they're reacting to you. And I know some of those, counselors and psychiatrists were a little like, hey, how'd she get their attention? It's just, But once you bring in something that is common ground, you have a master's in helping others after you've been through so much in life. And I think that's what suffering is part about, is to, once you've felt it and been in the shoes of all that, you can now go and help others and hopefully have keys for them. But if we're doing it and playing it and living it and dancing it, and it's not so much, we're doing it, we're feeling it. And I think that's key, is where it's about the dance and celebration in life. It isn't about trying to get to that goal, trying to get, life is a journey, but it's within. It's not what they taught us. It's really about helping others so you can heal. So it's a common, or, showing others that they can play and tap into that. And even the prison inmates, they were in euphoria for an hour and a half. So I just proved to them that they could do this on their own in the prison, which is easier said, but it was done. I proved it to them. It really is what we think about, and our minds can be our best friends instead of the opposite. Why aren't people finding their purpose as much as they should? Or why aren't we seeing as many of our brothers and sisters finding their purpose? I think it's about wanting to know and not being lazy on figuring out what's going on here and doing our shadow work, investigating, just like we did in working that computer, learning how to drive, and that's dangerous. So, or going to school for 12 years, we invested, and I think it's due to what we invest in and what we make important. We can blame the system as much as we want, but still we can investigate. And there's plenty of resources and information everywhere now. And I think too that, some of it isn't our brothers and sisters' faults, because from my opinion, I think we've been infiltrated with false information, false food, false water, stuff from the sky, that interrupts our magic, our talents. If we teach the children to be so self-conscious, they won't blossom. By the age of probably 12 or 13, it starts kicking in, their hormones. Hey dude, I was just dancing with you last year. Why are you? And now he's inhibited. He's not talking, and it's literally a straitjacket to our existence. So I think that right there is being self-conscious. Is not worrying about what people think about you is really important. Now, if you're causing harm to others, then I would be concerned how people felt about me. But it's a matter of wanting to know. And that's what I did. I scoped it out. I looked for it. I searched for it. I questioned it. I even rebelled and said, no, this doesn't feel right. Speak up. Don't become what is done to you. A lot of the prison inmates have become what was done to them. They didn't know how to get out of the emotional abuse or even being segregated from caste. And just, big thing on that, caste. It's not so much discrimination. It's created. So, but if the freedom comes when you choose to figure it out, look deeper, go deeper, help others, that's healing right there. And you're not so hardwired where you can never find your mission. Doesn't matter how old you are. So we can't be lazy. And they'll structure it to where we are comfortable in that slumber. So there's a whole thing going on to kind of divert us from, but we're strong enough too, and there's so many resources, and I can't just have a talent and others don't. We all have one, and it's just finding it. What I would give as far as advice to others who haven't found their purpose yet, no matter how young you, or the word old, you are, is to, as a GM tech, I would run into complex situations what I had to solve and fix things that weren't working. And when it came time when I didn't have an answer, or I wanted to figure it out myself and not necessarily ask somebody, I wanted to learn with myself, I would at night ask, and the answer would come in the morning. I'd wake up with an answer. And sometimes during the night. So also I would advise volunteering, helping others. Start doing things you've never done before, and the universe is going to help you. It's as corny as that sounds, it's real. I guarantee it. It's pocket. That's the mission, is the universe and you creating together. It's pretty phenomenal. So we're not alone. And I'm proof. As hard as I grew up, you name it, I've been through it. From beatings, rapes, foster care, death, people on drugs and alcohol, you name it, I've seen it. I've seen a murder that happened in my neighborhood at the age of 11, and I think all that was to school me. And I had a strong enough mind and heart and a brilliant mother. Very, very intelligent woman that would say a sentence and leave you to think, And she was barefoot and pregnant with 6 children, and very strong, powerful Native Mayan woman from Honduras that supported me in everything. So even that, if you have a way, you have a support team around you, get around souls that really care about you, follow your intuition. If you feel something is incorrect, it's true. Don't doubt that. If you saw something from the peripheral your vision, it was there. The moment we doubt it, it's over. So use those gifts that were given to us innately. We have sensors and relays that warn us and teach us. And I know that a lot of this isn't our fault, what causes us to, stay stagnant from our missions. But, if you're healthy and you've got the energy, you can get up there and figure it out and ask Spirit to help you, ask the universe. It'll come. It was given to us. It came with us. How would it ever leave us alone? So weird. The question is, what have others felt from my purpose? I think that they've felt joy, music, love, laughter, and me as well. Vice versa through their response and their participation. And when you see, in the prison, there were heavy hitters in there, like me, that could play, and I spotlighted them. I knew, and I brought them up on the heavy hitter instruments. So my volunteer had to move over with ease, never ego, and they got to be up there, and so that's amazing, and they'll never forget that. And it's who they were. They are drummers. They were percussionists. And I think that's why I continue to do it. It's been 35 years now. So, and the kids, how they've responded, they've called me or they see me on social media and they respond on how it was really magical and freedom of expression. What do I think the world would look like if the majority of all of our brothers and sisters were serving and being in their purpose? It'd be the best world ever. It'd be endless creativity, jubilation, collaboration, celebration, all the IONs. Yeah, it'd be a dream come true for me. And it will happen. I asked Spirit if it had ever changed to the theme of that, and I had a vision and it said yes. So we are evolving to that. No matter what you can't stop it. It's going to happen. And I hope I'm here for it. And if not, it's okay. But if I can leave, I am going to leave Free to Be Me Drum Circle to a beautiful man. And he's going to carry it on. And I just hope, that it just keeps inspiring others. And it's proof that, because there's a lot of people doing what I do, There are others. So it's here. It's happening. And hopefully we can be a model, inspiration. Because when I tell them my story, I had nothing. I had no money. I come from nothing. I have no education. It's strictly natural intelligence. So I'm proof that it's not about the degree or the money or what you own. It's pretty natural. So once that happens, this world, which I already feel it happening, because you're going to be noticed when you're just in your ego. People are going to, okay. It's going to be so pronounced because we're all evolving. There's the ego and the spirit. Which one are you in? And the ego's there for us, so it protects us, no doubt. But there is a purpose for it. But it's not looking cool on stage. What I would like to say is that I'm still young, and I'm here to help, and also to be helped, and because I'm not any different than my brothers and sisters. I just found a way to survive and be happy here, and that's through my gift and helping others. I know that word helping others can be, looked upon in different ways, but when I say help others, meaning celebrating them, bringing them to a place where they all want to be, and that's out of their thoughts, out of their fear, their doubt, and respite through music and rhythm, and also teaching them that they have it. You don't have to go to school for this. You got it. And yeah, I'm thankful for how the universe brought us all together. And there's the proof right there.